Welcome back, gentle listener. If you survived a full day and night wandering Rome, congratulations again. But now, let's drift into something even more peculiar, the personal lives of Rome's elites. And by peculiar, I mean weird, tragic, slightly disgusting, and somehow endlessly fascinating. Curl up. We're entering the private rooms of emperors, senators, and their far from normal families. Let's start with Caligula, because no discussion of Roman eccentricity begins anywhere else. He's infamous, and with good reason. Imagine a man who was born into privilege, called Little Boots as a child, probably because his father was a general and they thought baby shoes were cute, and then grew up to become emperor, a man who reportedly made his horse a senator. Yes, a literal senator, because why not? And of course, he indulged in practically every whim, from lavish banquets to public spectacles that were, let's say, ethically questionable. But here's the sleepy, ironic part. He was also reportedly paranoid and emotionally fragile. He couldn't trust anyone, which led to nightly insomnia, lavish parties to soothe his mood, and possibly writing memos to himself about how to survive the next day. Not the most relaxing life, if you were him, and not something you'd envy while lying in your comfy modern bed. Next, let's float over to Nero, another emperor whose bedtime story could keep you awake. Nero loved performing, on stage, in poetry recitals, even while Rome burned. He fancied himself a modern pop star of the first century. Wealthy citizens were forced to attend his performances. If you left early, apparently, the consequences were unpleasant. Imagine a slow evening of music, wine, and applause, or terror. Not exactly the cozy nighttime vibe we aim for, but historically accurate. And speaking of Nero's personal life, well, it was messy. Marriages, divorces, and executions were all part of his daily routine. He had a fondness for lavish feasts, and reportedly, a pet tiger or two. Because if you're going to be an emperor, why not surround yourself with slightly dangerous luxury? Still, he struggled with insecurity, which, for someone who could do basically anything, is oddly relatable. Then there's Claudius, often overshadowed by the theatrics of Caligula and Nero. Claudius, in contrast, had a more quietly tragic life. He was called a fool by his family for being physically weak and stammering. Yet he became emperor, the ultimate underdog story. If your underdog involves palace intrigue, poisonings, and awkward public appearances. Claudius loved history, writing, and odd personal quirks. He kept lists of all his marriages, which, spoiler alert, were numerous. One wife tried to poison him, another literally pushed him into political disaster. He survived because luck or divine irony, and ruled effectively, even if quietly. It's a life that makes you think. Sometimes surviving the palace is the real victory. Roman women of the elite also had interesting routines. Take Messalina, Claudius' third wife. She's famous for scandal, manipulating politics, seducing men, and reportedly entering competitions of promiscuity. Some historians exaggerate, of course, but the tales persisted because, well, they were fun to gossip about. And gossip in Rome was a major form of entertainment, almost like reality TV without the cameras. Other women had a quieter life, filled with managing households, supervising slaves, and subtly influencing politics from the background. Power wasn't just in armies or votes. It was in knowing who to marry, who to poison, or who to befriend. Its domestic intrigue, Roman style, with wine stains and marble floors. Speaking of domestic life, the children of Rome's elite weren't spared either. They were educated in rhetoric, philosophy, and Greek, often under the supervision of strict tutors. Failure wasn't just frowned upon. It could be life-altering, and many children grew up sickly, underfed, or overprotected, creating adults with a strange mixture of fragility and entitlement. Some became tyrants, some became poets, and some, well, history politely forgets them. Roman dining habits offer another glimpse into their personal eccentricities. Wealthy Romans loved elongated meals with multiple courses. Vomiting between courses was socially acceptable, and sometimes even encouraged if it allowed you to continue eating. Banquets were theatrical. Live music, poetry recitals, philosophical debates, and occasional small animal delicacies. It's not exactly the modern notion of romantic dinner, but it shows how leisure and excess were central to elite life. And let's not forget the odd obsessions. Emperors collected exotic animals, unusual art, and sometimes people. They held private games, played with mechanical devices, and had gardens designed for both beauty and privacy. Claudius reportedly liked mushrooms, the safe ones, and some emperors experimented with early forms of luxury spa treatments involving oils, baths, and scraping tools. In essence, if you were elite, life was an endless experiment in comfort, curiosity, and occasionally danger. By the end of the day, these elites were human, anxious, indulgent, ambitious, and sometimes tragic. They were people who slept poorly, worried constantly, and lived surrounded by wealth that could never fully protect them. And in a way, that's comforting. Even emperors, with all their power, had struggles, quirks, and discomforts. So, as you drift toward sleep, imagine this: a palace at night, torches flickering, nobles whispering, children shivering under silk sheets, and an emperor nervously checking the doors. Rome was alive, chaotic, smelly, and beautiful all at once. And even its most powerful residents couldn't escape the absurdities of daily life. Next time, we'll float further into the darkest, strangest quirks of medieval and Renaissance royals, continuing our gentle journey through human folly, eccentricity, and slightly tragic indulgence. Sleep well, gentle listener. History is absurd, and tonight you've witnessed just a small, sleepy portion of it.